Today's episode of the Mind Sculptors podcast is sponsored by TCG Player, your source for all your trading card game needs. Use our link in the description the next time you get your cards to help support the show. Today's episode is also made possible by our Patreon subscribers. If you want to support the show directly, head over to patreon.com/the Mind Sculptors and you can become part of the SCULPTY family today. Or if you don't want to do any of that, leave a like and comment on YouTube or a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts as an offering to Algorithm Jesus.
Help, everyone. I'm trapped in Arden town. Cal's keeping me hostage.
Well, see, I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2, so what I'm doing is, I'm holding you hostage until I can get the bounty or whatever. I don't know. Gotcha. I'm trying to make it... Remember that thing we were talking about? We talked on the phone last night, and I was like, you know how I have to make everything about everything?
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mind Sculptors. I'm Cal.
I'm Ian.
I gotta say, there were a lot of people in the last episode who were like, "Where's the scooter content, Cal? Where's the scooter content?" Don't worry, I'm working on a scooter diss track.
Nice. Good.
I thought I would throw my hat into the Kendrick versus Drake ring. Right. Take Metro up on that free beat. Offer and just throw a sick line down on BBL Drizzy about fucking slime scooters.
I hope you held your S long enough to sound like he said slime scooters, which I think is a whole untapped demographic that we haven't even really...
That really is true. We really haven't considered working the Nickelodeon audience yet.
Yeah, of course. And to be clear, that's a scooter where you have a giant tank of slime on the back and you drive by people and you're like, Nickelodeon sends the regards, and then you like...
Get slimed.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. So the other thing too is we were talking about you reminded me that I need to talk about this because in my notes app I just have like a ton of like ideas for episodes, right? Where I just kind of like write them down.
Yeah. And it definitely started a call of me last night being like, hey, we should record this week. And also, what should we talk about? I was like, well, don't you fret, dear co-host. I have a whole slew of things ready and available that I haven't looked at in quite some time, but I definitely know I wrote a bunch down.
And the thing is I appeared to have gone down a bit of a rabbit hole, or should I say a spider's web, so it were.
Yeah.
Because we've got such titles as the Spectacular Tournament Run, Embracing the Spider-Verse of CEDH Victory.
Yeah, which, as anyone knows, they hear that title and can completely digest what the hell Cal was talking about, of course.
Sometimes when I'm coming up with titles, it's just, like word soup until you find, it's kind of like that thing where it's like if you put a bunch of monkeys with typewriters in a room, they will eventually write, Shakespeare.
Yeah.
This was kind of one of those situations. We've also got gems of Spidey senses navigating the CEDH tournament verse for success.
Now, you at home might be like, oh, okay, so there's like one or two Spider-Verse things. No.
No, there's like 15.
Yeah. This was quite a revelation last night for sure, and yeah, definitely happy to.
Spitting success, mastering the art of winning the CEDH, of winning in CEDH tournaments.
Oh my god.
Climbing the web, scaling the heights of success. Yeah, I said that one, didn't I? Arachnid strategies, unleashing Spider-Man's secrets for CEDH.
The best part is, like, I was telling Cal this last night. I was like, this feels like a bit that they and I went on at some point, but I have no recollection of this.
No idea. No idea where this came from. Absolutely. My best guess is that at some point, while I was hyper focused on the like Spider-Verse movies when they came out, I like went to ChatGPT and was like, generate a bunch of YouTube titles that have CEDH tournaments and Spider-Verse in it.
Good. Mm-hmm.
A tournament verse explorers swinging across the CEDH tournament verse. You know, that thing we call, the tournament scene all the time is the tournament verse. I think we should start calling it the tournament verse personally.
You know what's okay? This is gonna be one of those times where the audience and you make fun of me. Okay. I know that ChatGPT is a thing. I know what ChatGPT does. I don't know how to get to ChatGPT.
You type in ChatGPT into your search bar.
Yep.
And then you open it up.
Okay. So it's like it's a site.
Yes, it's a website. And it's free.
Okay. I wasn't sure it was an app. I wasn't sure it was a site. I wasn't sure if and because you type in ChatGPT, like I just did in Google, and it like comes up with like 18 different responses. And I was like, oh no, which one?
Oh no, you gotta hold on. We'll let me pull up. I don't want to pull up my account because I don't want you to have all the fresh sauce of what I'm working on.
Right, the deep lore of ChatGPT.
Yeah. Here I'll send you a link so you can keep this one bookmarked.
Okay, good.
Here you go, chatgpt.com. It's literally just that.
Yeah, Lua and I were having fun the other day on the couch using Meta AI, and one of my favorite things to do was to ask for the responses just a little bit more whimsical. And Meta AI delivered. I'm not going to lie.
A little bit more whimsical.
Yeah.
ChatGPT also gave us such gems as Web Warriors, teamwork and strategy for dominating CEDH tournaments.
I think that's really powerful. I do. I think that's we got a lot going on there.
Yeah, I do too. I still think the spectacular tournament run embracing the Spider-Verse of CEDH victory is maybe my favorite one.
I think that one definitely was the one that got me to break yesterday because you hadn't mentioned anything Spider-Verse related until that point. And you were like, yeah, okay, navigating a CEDH tournament. Sure. It's like navigating the Spider-Verse of CEDH. I was like, what?
Clearly, Cal went down a rabbit hole at some point. So we were on our call last night, and we decided that we needed to share this with you because, you know, the deep Mind Sculptor lore is really the good stuff.
For sure.
You know, it's not just lime scooters and Christianity up in here. It's also spiders.
It's also specifically a Spider-Man franchise run by Sony, for sure.
The funny thing is if I'm willing to bet that if I went and looked up when did I write that note?
It's got to be within a 2-week period, right? Like, because it's you were definitely hyper focused on Spider-Man as soon as it came out.
Yeah, so that means it's like a year-ish old. Which checks out, but also not only is it a yearish old, there was nothing like the Marvel set hadn't even been released yet.
Oh yeah, this was like, you just firing off the hip. Yeah.
Those are just that's just pure Cal right there. That's not even branding Cal, who's like looking for buzzwords and stuff. That's just Cal off in Cal land. I tell you, my brain's a fun spot, a fun place. It's really fun to hang out up there. All sorts of goodies hidden away in the noggin. Speaking of goodies, we are working on more Arden today. While Arden Vial may be like one of those decks where it's like may not be necessarily Ian's style, but there's some like value in it, and it definitely has the legs. Arden and Tana is a lot more your speed because
green and red together make me happy, and that's what this is.
We were talking about this last night too, where every time I've tried to brew this deck, what happens is I get all the white cards, I get all the red cards, and I'm like, awesome, this rocks. All right, what green cards do I want to put in here? And then I look at the green cards, I'm like, I fucking hate all of these cards. So we brought the white pairing of the two and the green pairing of the two, and we brought them together to give you this Arden till she Tana all over me.
I just want to be clear to anyone listening in the chat or anyone who may read the deck name later. I did have nothing to do with this deck name whatsoever. I sort of begrudgingly shook my head when Cal sent it to me. I just want to be clear. Have that out there right now.
I think it's great. I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's talk about the history of Arden and Tana a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, so we definitely have like is it still in the database, the other version?
It is still on the database.
Yeah, so we have, what's the name of it?
I'll pull that up.
Got a silly name, but it's like Cicada and Scoots and a couple other people have been working on Hipster Stacks, that's right. Have been working on this deck for so long. Like it's a very old, not in a negative way, just old. Like it's been around for a very long time. Basically, since Arden was printed, this was like one of the first variations that came up with it. And Cal and I have always appreciated Hipster Stacks, but we've always thought of Arden with green kind of being set a little bit differently, right? And this is something we've talked about for a long time, but never really had the sort of drive to push and like actually just make the version that we were interested in making. So that's kind of what our idea is today. So if you look at the Hipster Stacks list that Cal lovingly has provided on our screen here, it's very much like heavy stacks, right? We're talking like win con lists, like playing Stony Silences and stuff like that in your artifact deck, right? Like it's very much like I am trying to lock the game out type of deck, right? Whereas Cal and I kind of envision this deck, or envision our own variant, right? More akin to something like Malcolm Tana.
Malcolm Tana, really?
Yeah, exactly. Which is much more of like the one card creature combo with green feature sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think like it's like an important thing to point out because like something we talked about. I know we talked about it on your channel when we talked about Arden last week. I don't remember if we talked about it that much when we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but on here, but like kind of the general idea with our like approach to it is that Arden really is like a Malcolm, like effectively it doesn't generate mana in the same way, but it generates you passive value in a very similar way. One thing that I had pointed out, because one of the things we had talked about was when there aren't like things to skull clamp, for example, Arden kind of has like the inverse problem that Malcolm and Timna have, right? Where like if Malcolm and Timna are on a board with a ton of creatures or a ton of flyers that can block, they have a hard time generating that value. Arden has the inverse problem where when you're on a board with not a lot of creatures on it, you have a harder time generating value.
Right.
So it's effectively the same issue, just like inverted ways of how they manifest.
I don't know how much, because we've had a lengthy discussion about that description of things. I don't know how much I agree with that, like direct one for one comparison, but
they're similar. I don't know that they're one for one the same, but
yeah, it's in the same ballpark for sure.
Yeah, and so with that being said, like Arden is one of those decks that really flourishes when it gets access to 1/1s. One of the things that I think, I don't remember if it made it in the final cut of your video or not, but we talk about how like playing Loyal Apprentice is something we wanted to play because like that 1/1 generation is really powerful, because Skull Clamp is just that good. And so with Tana, you have first of all, what's really great with Tana is it's maybe the only other partner pairing with Arden that isn't Crom that you actually care about casting the other partner, which is like kind of wild. Because how many times is like Tana the dead partner, right?
Right. But in this deck, Tana being able to, the combo everyone always thinks of, right, is Colossus Hammer, right? So like Tana being able to trample over for 12 and make X amount of saplings is obviously quite exceptional, right? Like that is the big synergy.
So I think with that, there's also cards like Staff of Titania that they're playing that I think is very strong. It isn't necessarily as strong as what Tana does on its own, but it does kind of passively generate these 1/1s that you want to have, especially when you have Skull Clamp or, Crazy Thought, but a second Skull Clamp.
Oh no, here we go.
Guys, I just got to say, the other day I was playing Arden Vial and I had a Skull Clamp, a Masterwork of Ingenuity, and then I copied the Skull Clamp with the duplication card, Molten Duplication. And I drew 6 cards off of somebody's Ragavan. Was beautiful.
Some would consider that excessive. Callahan would consider that a Tuesday.
Somebody would consider that I proceeded to win that turn, shockingly.
What? No, come on.
I was just like, go to combat, draw 6 cards. Hey, Final Fortune. I guess I'll Final Fortune, and hey, I guess I win.
Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. So as you can see here on our version, Ian's already added in a handful of cards. Another thing that I think we're going to go ahead and add while I'm here is just Godo Helm.
Because the primary combo of any of these Arden strategies, like basically the reason to play Arden, if I'm being realistic with red, right, is just like Arden gets this 1 card combo that is like the thing, right?
That's like the reason you play like Malcolm in red, right? Is that exactly. 1 card win card. That's why I think it's like such a good comparison to Malcolm, is because they share so many like similarities in that regard.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But so we see these. You got this is a card that not a lot of Arden pilots were on. And I am going to continue to yell about this for a while, but please play Masterwork of Ingenuity, especially in this deck, because it's like if you have a Colossus Hammer out, it's another Colossus Hammer. If you have a Skull Clamp out, it's another Skull Clamp. It's so good.
You also have the wonderful synergy in this variant where Urza Saga is just like the most auto-include possible because you just go get your hammer. It's so good.
The number of times in this that you are going to consider crop rotation into an Urza Saga is like kind of high, because crop rotation turns into a like tutor.
I mean, also, like, I think Crop Rot's just got to make this deck, right? Because it's either A, Gaia's Cradle, right? B, an Urza Saga, right? And, like, I can't stress enough how good Gaia's Cradle is when Tana's chunking in for 12 Saplings every turn, right? So, yeah, it's either a Cradle or Forbidden Orchard to give your opponents the 1/1 so you can clamp them if you're really desperate, right? There's a lot of utility for this, for crop rotation.
And I think that's also one of the things that's important here is I think green brings a lot to the table here. Just in terms of utility that, like, black doesn't quite have.
Because because like black can let you tutor anything, right? But like black doesn't let you put anything on the battlefield in the same way, right? You can beseech the mirror, but that doesn't do shit with Godo, right? So that's definitely like very important.
Let's see what else.
Let's see. So we have Chromox. I want to go with a fast mana right away, which is Chromox. Lotus Petal is the one I'm thinking of. I have Mox Opal.
I also have been playing Mox Amber. I think it's been fine.
Really, with the 7 mana value commanders?
With Arden, it's like whatever, and you're also playing like Rog or not Rog, Ragavan. So it's just kind of like Ragavan. It feels that way sometimes.
Yeah.
I can go either way on it. I think maybe in this version we might not need it. It's definitely good in the Naz version.
I think it's very good post ad nauseum, which is why I didn't really mind it in the other version.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe we'll put it in the sideboard and then just have the notion of it being there potentially. I also put Grimoth in the sideboard. It probably deserves to go in because if you look at the colorless between our 2 commanders, right, we have 4 generic. Yeah. Also, casting Godo is kind of a thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the other things too. I think also an important piece to make sure that we want to talk about is like Eldritch Evolution is extraordinarily strong in this deck because Tana EE's straight into Godo.
Yeah, that's pretty dang good, huh?
Yeah, turns out.
All right, that is in the deck for sure.
Yeah, Eldritch Evolution is probably one of the best cards as far as tutors go.
Mm-hmm. So I think now I'm gonna go through the process of adding all the green tutors, right? So like Worldly is definitely going in there, right? Mm-hmm. We have Eladamri's Call, and then we have our 2 functional same cards, Finale and Invasion.
Yep.
Vicoria specifically, just because for anyone listening, like these are just these sort of auto include green tutors that are just very, very efficient on rate that like get the job done. Those are the ones that are like no think easy auto include, right? Like the other ones start to get a little bit more nuanced in our discussion of them. So one of the things I think that's going to stand out for this deck is comparatively to the Hipster Stacks version, we still do need to play cards that disrupt our opponents, but I think our idea with this variant is that we are not going as hard, right? But I do still think we need like our Dauntless Dismantlers and stuff like that, right?
We need Dauntless. We need Drannith. Outside of that, I'm not super into a lot of the Stacks pieces they have played. I kind of
like the Interrupter. I feel like that's a good tempo.
I think even Interrupter is a card that we could talk about. But I think I'm very heavily against Collector Oof in a deck that generates a bunch of 1/1s because if you have a bunch of 1/1s post a Dockside, that's a lot of cards you're leaving on the table.
Right.
And I think
you mean for skull clamping purposes.
Yeah, for skull clamping purposes specifically. Skull clamp is such a huge part of the strategy. And then I think that is a big piece of that is having that. And I think relying on Ardenn's ability full send is maybe not the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Pause for a second here, Cal. I'm like actually sweating. If I turn my fan on, can you let me know if it's something that's going to be like cuttable, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How is it?
I don't really hear anything.
Love that. Okay, thank God. I was like,
guys, I can't breathe.
Water. Are we? I don't think we are, but is there a potential we play Luca again for this one?
So yeah, I was actually going to ask that question because if we play Luca, I think what we have to decide is very similarly with Vile, very similarly is the way that I've done it in Arden Crom,
right,
is what is our CMC cutoff and are we okay capping at 4? Because I'm fine with that, but that does take us off of like potentially doing like having the Kiki backup lines that we had talked about last.
Oh, that's right. And we did have a whole conversation about Kiki backup lines. That's a really good question. Okay, so why don't we sideboard it for now?
Yeah, I think that I can put it in the sideboard here, unless you already have. And I think that's a question where it's just kind of going to be like, is our backup line going to be, similar to what it is over here with the dual caster mage lines, right. Or are we going to go to the creature combo lines? And so
one thing in favor of like Birthing Pod / Vivian is the fact that Arden does have mana value of 3, right?
Right.
So for those at home, what that means basically is that any commander that has at least the Naya colors and has mana value of 3 has the ability to be podded into a Kiki line, basically, because you immediately go 3 to 4, right? So 3 to 4 being Felidar Guardian comes in, flickers either the Birthing Pod or the Vivian, then you're able to go again. That usually goes and gets you Karmic Guide, bringing back the Felidar Guardian, repeating the flickering process, right? And then, once again, you sack the 4, go Kiki-Jiki, Kiki-Jiki copies the Karmic, which brings back the Felidar, which resets the thing, and then you just go for the win there, right? So.
And then you're just like, hey, I have infinite Kiki or Felidar Guardians.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a bunch of 1/4s. Deal with this.
Exactly. And I do think let's throw that whole pile, I think, in the sideboard. And as we start to flesh out the deck, we can. I'm throwing in Birthing Pod right now.
I'm gonna get Felidar Guardian.
I'll add Vivian. The Hunt.
Guide.
Yep.
Look at this teamwork, guys.
I know.
Look at this teamwork. Did you get Kiki?
Yeah, I got Kiki.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and then there's also the option of like, while we're throwing these in the sideboard, the other Kiki bottoms in these colors, right? I think the most playable is like Restoration Angel because of the flash aspect and
its ability to defend some of our things that we're playing too is like really good.
Yeah. I can get behind that too. And like if we end up playing like Mother of Runes and stuff like that, Village Bellringer like doesn't suck either, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For shizzle.
I do think there's like a little bit of synergy, and this is one of the nice things with Kiki layering is that like pieces like Felidar and they're already inside.
Oh, okay.
Pieces like Felidar and Restoration Angel and stuff like that, they do flicker, right? So like there creates like a certain level of inherent synergy with pieces like Godo or like Dockside and stuff like that, because they create basically a space where you can get a bunch of extra value from these pieces that normally are just kind of like 4 mana clunky creatures, right?
Well, I mean, like in two, like Felidar with a Godo.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have your Arden, if there's a like let me give you a super wild and very specific situation. Say there's a Drannith match straight on the table, and you get a Godo down. Well, if you have Felidar Guardian or a Restoration Angel in hand, it cuts 1 mana off how much it costs to get your combo online. Because your Godo get the Helm of, or not Helm, it's the Hammer of Dazan, and then you flicker the Godo, getting Helm of the Host, and then it just auto equips. So that is one of the benefits to this package.
Yeah. I'm going through and adding a couple like auto staples right now. Because this is kind of we're at that point with this list right now. So right now I've already added Range Captain of Eos, Esper Sentinel, Enlightened Tutor, Delighted Halfling, Deflecting Swat, Birds of Paradise. I put a couple cards in the sideboard. And what I'm doing specifically is I'm actually going to the EDH recommendations tab here, just because, it turns out when enough people build cEDH mana bases, you can just go to a tab that says, this is what everyone does. And you're like, oh yeah, right. This is what everybody does. And not saying that you can't have your own creativity with these types of things, but I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that you probably want a Grand Abolisher in a deck like this. And it's nice to have that all in one compact place, right?
100%. I will say I do think that I don't want to be super dork heavy. Yeah. I think dorks are incredibly bad right now. And so I think only playing the good ones is really worthwhile.
Yeah. I can definitely get behind that. Halfling to me is like one of the exceptions to the rule. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
So that is the one I'm most excited about. But yeah, there's a lot of different space with
also going to go ahead and add a Ragavan.
Yep, that's already in there.
Raggy Boy is a good Arden card, turns out.
For sure.
So we're getting some stuff added in here. I do like the idea of playing Solitude. Definitely feels like a deck that can take advantage of Solitude. Mm-hmm.
And I'm also sideboarding a ton of stuff too, right? And like that is specifically because like the sideboarding is like the place where I get to, and this is how I literally work with all my decks. It's just sideboard is the place where, the big decisions are made. Like there's obviously stuff that comes in, it's auto includes, right? But like the stuff that is beyond the just mere skeleton of the deck, that's what the sideboard usually determines, right?
People say I don't love Link to Prillet.
Yeah, that was a very specific sideboard inclusion because that is like a very specific way to build the deck, right?
Yeah.
So we probably want like Red Blast and Power Blast. Just
yeah, probably. I think we can just move those up to main deck.
What do you think about Deafening Silence? To me, it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense with an asterisk next to it.
Okay.
Because we do cast a pretty reasonably high amount of artifacts.
Okay.
And so I'm just like, I'm not saying no. I'm saying I am cautious of that.
I also think Cutzel's one of the cards I put in the sideboard, but like given the inherent synergy we have with like Arden equipping big things and bumping power, like seems like a Grand Abolisher with upside's pretty good in this deck.
Yeah, I would agree.
Also, in my time playing with Arden Vial Smasher, Kellen's dumb. Like Kellen is so good.
Kellen is absurdly good.
Yeah.
If people haven't read what this card does, as double strike, and if you put anything that has a damage trigger on it, he's good. He's very good. Yeah.
One thing I learned playing Arden Vial, and I think it is very much the case here, is that the Final Fortune effects, you need at least 2, I think.
Yep, I agree.
And I think you and I both like the instant speed ones, right? Being Final Fortune and Chance for Glory, right?
Yeah, and specifically Chance for Glory has that really good synergy with your deck as well.
Yeah.
Where it's able to kind of like bail you out of a like worst case scenario sometimes.
And actually, funny enough, when the Doctor Who set first came out, I was contacted by a Najila player who said they were running Angel's Grace and Everybody Lives because they would very aggressively use their Chance for Glory and their Final Fortune and like their Warrior's Oath, right? And then just like push those extra turns and then, play their Angel's Grace or whatever, either defensively or, if something went wrong during those turns, it would be a way to recover and not just beef it fully, right? Which I do kind of like in this deck because we're not full turbo, right? But getting an extra turn in a tempo-based deck is really big, right? But kind of
another card that I've considered, I've tested it out a few times and I haven't seen it yet, is a Cloudsteel Kieran.
Okay. I thought you were going to say 3-mana Gideon. Okay.
No, Cloudsteel Kieran specifically because you can just like if you get it down, you can attach it to other people's creatures and you get the effect.
That is funny.
So, like, yeah, equipped creature has, it might not be another person's creature, actually. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's how that works. But regardless,
the creature has it. So,
okay. So you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. So you just like equip it to something. And so it's like reasonably good. I haven't seen it. In theory, it's reasonably good, I should say.
Sure.
I have not gotten to see it in a game to confirm whether or not it is good.
Okay.
But it is a card that sits in my considering board.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of considering board and reconfigure creatures, I did throw Lion Sash in there, as that just reminded me of
solid.
That. Yeah. So one of the cards I really, really want to talk about in this deck that I think is just like not really played anywhere else ever is Belt of Giant Strength. Which I think is so cool. So it's a 2-mana equipment. It says equipped creature has base power and toughness 10/10. It has an equip cost of 10 and the ability cost X less to activate, where X is the power of the creature it targets, right?
That part of it you really don't give a shit about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's literally just another Colossus Hammer in this deck, which I think is so cool. So you just like play it, go to equip, throw it on one of your creatures with Ardenn's ability, and then suddenly you got a 10/10 running around, which is pretty sick.
Also, while we're here, I do want to explain something for folks, because this was something that I got a comment on the deck list about. How are you able to win? You aren't able to. Somebody said that you aren't able to win the turn that Arden, Godo, and Helm comes down because they're both at the beginning of combat triggers.
Right.
The way that they work is that Arden and Helm always trigger at the beginning of combat and resolve and check the abilities check upon resolution. So the way that you do it is you stack the triggers so that Helm of the Host is on the bottom of the stack and Arden's trigger is on the top of the stack. Arden's trigger targets Godo. That resolves. You put Helm of the Host onto it. Helm of the Host trigger goes to resolve. It sees it's equipped to Godo, makes a copy. And so that's how that works. It does work immediately. And so I did want to explain that for some folks.
Yeah, it's a very interesting interaction, and like it confused a lot of people when the deck first came out, I think. But yeah, it does work the way you want it to. Yeah, which is like, it's so funny that like a lot of these things do exist in Magic, where there's like a lot of these sort of passive triggers that we don't ever really recognize, because it would literally be like for example, Arden targets something every turn, even if you don't have any equipment, right?
One of the things that I think is really interesting. We talked about this a while back, but we were like, oh, is there really like a deck that commits crimes regularly that exists? This deck commits a crime every turn. Which is super interesting. So it's like, I don't know if there's anything crime worthy that has that like text on it that's worth considering for this. But I do think that's really interesting, where like you could realistically build a crimes deck with Arden and just include no equipment realistically.
Well, one thing we could do to find that out is if we go over to the advanced search function. No, just stay in the deck, silly goose. Go over to the advanced search function. Go down to Oracle text and write commit crime. You do not need to put it in parentheses or quotes. I mean, just crime.
Just crime. Whenever you commit a crime, put a loot counter on bandits. Oh, it's 3 mana. Nope. Crime novelist. Nope. Free strider lookout. Whenever you commit a crime, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This ability triggers only once each turn.
That is not the worst line of text I've ever read.
That's honestly not the worst. Every turn, look at the top 5
land. Yeah, I don't know.
Look at you see 5 cards. It's actually interesting.
Yeah.
let's see, Hard Bristle Bandit. Whenever you commit a crime, untap Hard Bristle Bandit, and it only triggers once. Magda.
Well, I will say that's the same as like that's a 2-mana dork, right? That is a 2 mana for 2 mana, right? Mm-hmm. The question is Bloom Tender better? Probably.
If Magda didn't create a tapped treasure, it'd be great.
I don't hate this one. I don't love it, but like I don't hate it either. You know, just because 2 mana is making it a little more digestible for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. Omen Port Vigilante has double strike as long as you've committed a crime this turn.
Stonks. No, it's bad.
Scene of the crime. You can sacrifice. Oh, that just doesn't have a crime. Take a ride has flash as long as you've committed a crime this turn. Gain control of target creature.
It's for 3 speed, anyways, right? So.
Yeah. That's all of the crimes
in these colors. It's mostly a black archetype, right? It's Grixis archetype, I think, specifically.
But where was it? I added it into the.
We took a look. Yeah, we did.
Free Strider Lookout isn't like awful. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cool find specifically for a deck like this. I think for me, the cards that if I'm going to include a card like Free Strider Lookout, I want my commander to be criming instant speed too, right? Like I want to be criming on everyone's turn. That is such a weird sentence I've just said out loud. I want to be criming every turn.
Arden until she crime all over you.
The new deck name is Be Gaying, Do Criming.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so have we added? We have not. We need to add Steel, or what is it? Steel Shaper's Gift.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Card is cracked. Obvious. I can. How? What? Steel Shaper. Where's the fucking card?
So for those who have not been, multiverse jumping between Cal's channel and my own channel, one of the things and I guess this is our channel too, whatever, is that one of the things I found exemplary in Arden Vile Smasher when I was playing that, and one of the things I did like the most was that I always felt like I had a play in the game because I could always go and grab Conqueror's Flail, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, as soon as I saw that, I snapped it back into this deck, right, as a potential inclusion. I think it's very good. I think it is, like, basically, if you want to be able to push through a bunch of Ristic studies while playing a much more fair deck than Blue Farm, you got to be able to punch through that kind of nonsense somehow.
I think that's the most fair critique you gave of the deck, by the way, is that it's like it's a great, or it's a Nas deck that's like the most fair Nas deck in existence. It's super fair.
They're wrong. There were many play patterns that were fun to play, but we don't need to go about having conversations about the deck.
But yeah, Conqueror's Flail is super good here. So I think now we're kind of getting towards the port where we have to kind of decide on, I think, this,
what the deck looks like. Yeah.
The more we talked about it, the more I think this Kiki line is the way to go.
Okay.
Because I kind of sold myself on it while we were talking about it because of the interactions with these cards. And I think this suite right here of Restoration Angel, Feldar, and Karmic just synergize with the overall deck pretty well. So I think those I'm pretty good to just add.
Yeah.
I think another card that I want to add to the sideboard is Loyal Retainers. This feels like a version that is interested in Loyal Retainers.
Well, you don't need it in this one, bud. Because we have Karmic anyways, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So one thing this does add too is we also open up a Survival of the Fittest line, which is nice, right?
Correct.
So for those who haven't experienced that, it is literally the exact same condition that we kind of went over with the other thing, in the sense that it uses the Felidar, the Karmic, the Kiki, right? But like what's really nice is that basically end step you go like, okay, cool. I think you have to pitch 3 times, right? Yeah, so you pitch whatever generic creatures in your hand, say a mana dork, right, for example. You go get Kiki-Jiki, right? You throw the Kiki into the bin, you go get Felidar Guardian, you throw the Felidar Guardian into the bin. Now, those two, does not matter what order, as long as Kiki and Felidar are in the bin.
Yep.
What does matter is that the last card you need to get is Karmic Guide, right? So activate thrice, right? Put Kiki in the bin, put Felidar in the bin, end with Karmic Guide. On your turn, just hard cast the Karmic Guide. It brings back the Felidar. You flicker the Karmic Guide, get the Kiki back, off to the races. Also, you can switch the order of which one you reanimate. Does not fucking matter.
The other thing that is really great about that is because you can also just do, if you are looking to go down a Godo path, you can just survival of the fittest, pitch a dork, go get Godo, pitch that, go get Karmic Guide, and you are doing the exact same thing. I think that is also part of why I do like having survival, or what is it, loyal retainers, is specifically that if the Karmic Guide is removed or in the graveyard, you do have a way to use survival to go grab Godo.
That's fair. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't add redundancy for the Kiki line, but I think that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Disappointing, but fine.
Listen, Loyal Retainers is one of those cards that a lot of Arden decks are going to play and not feel good about.
But disappointing, but fine feels like the very apt description.
It's one of those cards. I spent a lot of time with Arden Crom, like explaining it to like you and Jeremy, and it's just like, I don't like this card. I'm like, listen, I'm not jazzed about playing it either.
Yeah, that's super valid. To sort of, okay, so I've added that whole package in, right, that we just talked about. I have Survival, I have Kiki, I have Felidar, I have Karmic, and then Loyal will keep in the sideboard, but like is very much like sideboard plus in the sense probably is making the final cut. Yeah. I don't think we literally gushed about crop rotation for like 6 hours and then never actually put it in. So
that sounds like us.
I also think that's pretty indicative that Archdruid's Charm makes sense in this deck.
I would heavily agree with that.
Cal, I don't know if we've actually, because you and I have talked about this outside of the podcast, but we both fucking love that card.
That card's insane. I remember when you tried it in Atali, and it was like, we didn't record this, but we were talking about it in Atali. Like, it was like the first tournament you took Atali with. Yes. And I was like, I don't know, Archdruid's Charm just seems like an upgraded Abrade to me. And you were like, yeah. And then you tried it, and you came back, you messaged me, and you were like, that card is fucking cracked.
Well, because a lot of time you're sitting there in Gruul, and you're like, I can't interact with shit. And then you like hold up green mana, right? And then you pass the turn, and either A, someone goes for it, and you're like, aha, the Gruul deck stopped you, clown. And then they're like, but wait. or
wait, you're not supposed to have interaction.
Yeah. Or end step, you get a free Dockside or a Cradle, right? Like, that's just like... Okay, like it really twists my arm, guys.
Darn. Shoot.
Yeah, like I've had games where I was like setting up for the win. They played a Dranith, and I was like, "Well, thank God that's dead." And they're like, "But wait."
You know what's disgusting is that because of how this deck works, there is a world where you go, there's no X1s at this table, but I really need people to have 1/1s. I guess I'll go grab a Forbidden Orchard.
We said that already. Yeah,
I know, but like the fact that you would Archdruid's Charm for that is very silly.
To Archdruid's Charm. Yes, I didn't think about that purpose. That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, that's where I was like, you're never going to feel good doing it, but like it's a thing that the deck can do and is not unreasonable to do.
Cal, do you want to hear the trolliest fucking card you can play in this deck that you probably don't want to, right?
Argus Cost.
What is that? Well, no, not that one. But that is funny.
I'm gonna show this for the people.
Okay, so can I show my stupid card and then we can talk about your stupid card?
Sure. What's your stupid card?
All right, ready? Hungry Lynx.
Hungry Lynx. Buffering. It's working on it. Sorry to our radio listeners.
Oh boy, it's coming. Ooh-wee.
Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee.
Oh my god.
Okay, it's being weird. Let me try this again. Hungry Lynx. Work, god damn it. What does this card do? Okay, Moxfield's being a bitch. Let's go somewhere else. Hungry Links MTG. Work. This card, I knew this was what you were talking about. I was like, this sounds familiar. So it's cats you control have protection from rats. It's a 2/2 cat that costs a generic and a green. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent creates a 1/1 black rat creature token with death touch. And whenever a rat dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each cat you control. Honestly, if we were on the Kemba shit, it's not the worst.
That's so funny.
My card is Agris Koss.
Yes, and this is one Cal pitched me last night, and I was like, hey, friend, are you okay?
So this card, specifically in Arden and Tana, is very funny because the way it reads, it works kind of like, what's
like
it called?
A Zada, right?
Yeah, like Zada. In it specifically, whenever it becomes the target of an ability that targets only this, you may pay a generic and a red or white. If you do, copy that ability for each other creature you control. That ability could target. So
can you explain how that works with equipment? Because like, how does one become equipped to all? You know?
The way that what it would do is create. So let's come over here, right? So you have Tana out, and you have Arden out, and you have like a number of 1/1s because of Tana hitting with your Skull Clamp. You play Argus Koss. You Arden trigger goes onto the stack. You target Argus with it. That will now create an Arden trigger for every creature it could target.
Okay, so it's not the equip ability; it's the Arden trigger.
It's the Arden trigger. So that ability will now target every creature on your board, which means every 1/1 will get equipped by a Skull Clamp, killing it to state-based actions, drawing you 2 cards. So it's effectively a 2-mana draw a zillion cards.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit too much of a out there find, but I'm adding it to the sideboard.
Yeah, it's a wacky little number. We will take those.
It's not as crazy as I think it looks on the surface. It's definitely very dude, whatever it is about Moxfield, it does not want to pull up Hungry Links.
It's struggling a little bit in general right now, I think, from my end at least. Let's talk about Pip-Boy a little bit, because one of the tech pieces that I did put in my Arden vial that was not in our shared list was Pip-Boy.
And that's because it's not available on MTGO, which was why it wasn't
right.
Otherwise it would be.
Right. So wonderful card, right? Like a very, very small investment for what feels like a decent amount of value. The mode I found myself using the most, and I believe that's mostly because of the variant I was playing, was the untap 2 lands. I did find being able to invest in an equipment or something, and then go to combat, put it in Arden, and then have a whole second main where I could actually do shit was really cool, right?
Yeah.
So we liked that, but I do wonder if that's, one card that works better in that version because of the how much you want to have your mana for the explosivity potential, right?
Right.
That's what it speaks to me at the very least,
Yeah. The one thing I will say about it is I do think the second ability in this one works really well on a Tana. Specifically because of the fact that it does continuously pump that Tana and make it slowly get bigger over time. Because
I just I don't want to overestimate how many turns we have. You know what I mean?
I think that's fair. But I do think
if we're looking at a card like that, Lion Sash gets much higher value, which honestly 100%. Lion Sash just has a lot higher value, I think, in general.
Yes, I think Lion Sash in this deck is exceptional.
I kind of forgot about the part that it pumps too. That's kind of hot. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Lion Sash is very good. It does have to exile a creature, or exile a permanent card. But oh no, I exiled your land in response to your Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
Oh no, and now I get a bump. Oof.
Are we? I feel like this is a better Hearth and Home deck than Vile was, right?
So my hot take is that the only good Hearth and Home deck is Arden Crom. And the reason is because Hearth and Home is specifically very good with Gilded Drake. I think
that's very funny. Yeah.
The way that worked, by the way, is because of the way that Hearth and Home is worded. You target a permanent you own, not control. And so because of that, you blink your own Gilded Drake, and it lets you ramp a little bit, and then you also are able to just kind of every turn steal another creature. I don't love Sword and Hearth and Home outside of that, specifically because I don't think that I think it's too. I think it ends up doing what what you want Helm of the Host to do most of the time. Where I think Helm of the Host ends up just being better because it's more versatile. So the reason being is that a lot of the times you want it to flicker Dockside. You want it to flicker that, or you want it to flicker like a Godo or a Theldar, any of your ETB effects. My experience is that Helm is just better at that because it creates another copy and it lets you copy the best card on the board at any given time. And so I think that is my reasoning of being like, I don't love that card, but I also see why people like it.
One thing I want to prioritize in this version. So first of all, I'm going to add the Angel's Grace like we talked about, right?
Yes.
And then I'll probably sideboard the Everybody Lives, right? And because this the dialogue that you're bringing up reminds me like a lot of the conversation with this deck, and this is to be clear, I'm not just kind of pulling out a non sequitur here. A lot of the conversation we have about this deck is very art independent, right? Like, and obviously you're playing a commander deck, you want to use your broken commander, right? Like, duh, right? But like, part of that also means that we need to have our commander, right? Like, which it sounds like I'm talking in circles, but what I'm specifically indicating is that there is a lot of situations that I found in that tournament where I was reaching a frustration point because I didn't have enough spot removal to keep the Dranniths off the fucking board, right? So I definitely think like touch is good because like touch allows you to like have a turn with your commander out, and then like, you know, you don't mind your opponents having a Drannith that much, right? It's literally just to keep your two commanders off the board, right? So like those are the times, like, you know, there's some slight value with like other cards. Like speaking of cards that get affected by Drannith, Professional Facebreaker probably should go in this version. But I think, you know, having some more creature removal for that purpose alone, because we already have Solitude. I just threw in we have Reb and Pyro, but those don't hit Drannith. So I think with touch, I kind of like Get Lost because you know, first of all, Trouble in Pairs stops our extra turns, which could potentially cut us off a winning line, right? Which I'm not a huge fan of. And then normally I think you and I tend to do like a path or a swords, but I think like this might be a deck that just wants both, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Sorry, I realize I went on like a very long rant there, but like all relevant stuff, I hope.
So I have a somewhat controversial considering board card, and that's Elevira the Wild Court.
Is it says enchanted or equipped?
Whenever an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, so that's like less, you know, less good, but it does do things where you're able to move them around and like stack a bunch of roll tokens onto things. I don't know if it's good, or I guess you can't stack roll tokens because of how they're
right, because roll tokens don't work like that, unfortunately.
This is a card that I've played against enough times with Arden where I'm like, this would be interesting. And I don't know if it's good enough, but I think it's like fascinating. You know what I mean?
Also, silly us, we have not put Manglehorn in here. This is like a perfect Manglehorn deck, right?
Oh,
like
100%. the card I was thinking of.
No, but I totally get where you're coming from with the idea of what you were just pitching. I'm like, yeah.
There's a specific. Sorry, go ahead.
Sylvan Library also probably goes in here, right?
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of playing Lava Spur Boots, just kind of in general.
Dude, I legit think that card is super underplayed. Like, I legit think a 1-for-1, just like a Urza Saga-able Swiftfoot Boot effect that gives haste and Ward 1. And like Ward 1 is not like the end all be all, but you know what? It stops a fucking Bowmasters, right? Yep. Which is the biggest pain in the ass ever for any sort of
This was
deck,
the card I was thinking about for this deck too. Is Akiri line the new one?
The new Akiri, right? Yeah.
The new Akiri, because it can draw you up to 3 cards. Fearless Voyager, and you can also unattach for white. You may unattach an equipment from a creature you control if you do tap that creature and it gains indestructible. So it's like a draw engine, and also has kind of that like ability to make like defend things.
Do you want to put it in the sideboard so I can see?
Yes, I just did that.
Okay, lovely.
Just added it.
Is dog meat playable?
Huh.
Right? Like
maybe question mark? Whenever
I don't think Akiri's activate ability is not doing much, right? But like Dogmeat's ability to just be like, all right, here's extra card advantage, and also let me grab an equipment for my deck potentially, right?
Yeah, I think my biggest concern with that is like, how okay are we at playing out of our graveyard? And I don't know that we have that answer yet.
No, that's super valid, right? I can, we can at least throw them on the sideboard, but I do think you're making a really good point there.
Another card that I think is worth thinking about. There's a 2-card combo that I really enjoy having in Arden decks, especially more like combat focused ones, is Pure Steel Paladin and Bloodforged Battle Axe. Because
really,
Bloodforged Battle Axe will, especially in Tana, will do a lot where you will just kind of keep making them over and over again. But then you also draw cards off of those tokens coming into the battlefield. So Pure Steel Paladin's one that I am definitely not 100% on, but I have liked it when I have played it. And then Bloodforged Battle Axe has also been super solid when I played it.
Yeah, I mean, Bloodforged Battle Axe is just hot, right? Like that card's like, and I'm going to sound like an idiot, but that card is like actual stonks. Like, it's like so silly with Arden.
It's another one. Yeah. This is the other thing too. We talked about this a little bit on a show when we were doing our set review. Is that you're now getting this density of good 1-mana Urza Saga hits for Arden.
Yeah,
it's like realistically a much better
legit. You're like you're 100% correct. Okay, you ready for my thing that I'm actually like feeling pretty. It kind of feels spicy, but it's like not. I think inventory management is just an auto include in these decks from now on.
I don't disagree with that.
So one of the things I was finding, right, is that like I would, when I was playing the Vile variant, right, was that I was like, fuck, I have this Conqueror's Flail, but I have to basically bend over backwards to convince people that it is or is not a problem, right?
Don't worry about it, guys.
Well, right, and like that's the thing is like, because there were times where like Conqueror's Flail was actually fine, right? Because the deck was just like moving to combat, equipping, and attacking, right? Which is fine, right? But there are other times where it's, you are trying to pop off, but they can just wait for the trigger, blow you out, and then you're sitting there like, okay, well now I lost my creature that I was going to attach to, and my thing isn't equipped, and I'm going to my second main phase, and I have nothing going on, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think inventory management allowing you to be like, okay, I have Flail, I just played Godo, I have 2 mana left over, split second, game's over, right? Like
that's another reason why I really like Pure Steel Paladin is it's not quite this, obviously, because it doesn't have that split second ability, but the ability to just pay 0 for something.
Yeah.
It's such a gulf. You know what I mean? And especially in a deck like this, where you're making a bunch of 1/1s and you have Skull Clamp, and that's like a huge part of it, is your 1/1s now just become like free card draw.
Yeah. I will also say, and this is sort of like a separate notion, right? There are enough things nowadays where I would love to work on like a SRAM deck with you, but like not actually SRAM, but like 3-4 color SRAM, because we have like the Armory Paladin from Fallout and SRAM and Pure Steel and a couple other cards where I'm like, I feel like a multicolor SRAM style deck is like actually kind of legit.
Like,
which is so
we could do, you know what we could do is we could do, God damn it! I have the name for it. It's Brea's Diners Drive. What is it? Brea's Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives.
Yeah. I think Elsha could also be a really cool commander for that deck too, because then it starts to be like, oh yeah, play equipment off the top, hold priority on the trigger, and then like, you know what I mean?
I apologize to our Spotify audience. Yeah, no, I think inventory management is really good. That was a card that I needed a you to confirm was a good card for me. Yeah, because it's like
there were so many times where I was like, I really would love an inventory management right now. Have we not added survival to this deck or Sylvan Library to this deck yet? It's in there.
Oh, it's in the sideboard. Okay.
No, it's in the deck.
It is?
Yeah, refresh it.
Refresh. There it is. Okay.
Yeah. I think we're a little light on acceleration right now. I do think, like, I totally agree with you what you said about dorks, right? Which is like we're in a very predatory dork meta. I'm not saying we don't
play dorks. I'm saying we play the good dorks and only the good dorks.
Yeah. I also think like I'm a Wild Growth stan, right? Like I think that card's insane.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I also think, given the way that Tana works, that this could easily be an Earthcraft deck.
Yeah.
You know?
What does Earthcraft do again?
You don't remember what fucking Earthcraft does, Cal? Come
on. I'm a blue mage. We've talked about this.
You're supposed to be a boomer.
I am a boomer, but listen, this is something that I think people forget is I know I play like a lot of like fringe stuff for a very long time. I was just like, hello, this is my Kess deck. Hello, this is my Thras Vial deck. Hello, this is my Thrasios Timna deck. I play... I guess the most fringe deck I used to really play was like Joyra. But it's... I used to play Storm almost exclusively.
The fact that you have not mentioned Lavinia is a crime, but yeah.
Well, that's because that was that like weird middle period. That was after. That was my awkward teen years of CEDH.
It's so accurate.
Pimples and everything, man.
Oh my god, Lavinia was my awkward teen years. That's a t-shirt right there.
That's a t-shirt. I don't hate Earthcraft. I think the only thing that I don't love about it is I think that it asks us to play a bunch of basics, which I'm a greedy motherfucker. Give me those.
No, I don't disagree with you, right? Like, I think you mold your mana base appropriately. I just think it's a potential avenue for the deck, right? Because like, I think that having a bunch of Tana tokens and not doing anything with it is a crime. Like, I think
Arden is the one that commits crimes.
I knew you were fucking saying that. I guess Tana does get very funny with Idolized too. If you start playing that.
Enchant creature has whenever this creature attacks alone, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of non-land permanents you control. Excuse me, what?
That like it's very funny with Tana over time.
Sideboard that bitch.
Yeah.
That very quickly gets out of hand.
Yeah, it's like, I'll attack for 5. Okay, yeah, give me 5 separately. All right, cool. Next
now I'll attack for 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'll attack for 30.
Do we goblin bombardment, like, legitimately?
That's a sideboard card, and I think what we do is after we've played, like once I get like some MTGO leagues in with this deck, I can let you know how often
you're doing the Tana thing.
Get one, like how many 1/1s you realistically can expect. Because I think that's like that's also one of the things I'm going to have to figure out is like, what are my replacements for like inventory management?
I also think like Eleshnorn it might be like the cleaner version of that type of question, right? Because like Eleshnorn is good on its own. She puts in a ton of work in like some of the grindier matchups. And then sometimes if you have Tana out, right? Base level, you have Tana, you have Eleshnorn, right? You nuke your opponent's blockers, you go to combat, you hit for 4 with Tana, right?
Hello, here's 8 power.
No more. It's 12. Right, you get 4 3/3s.
Oh shit! Yeah, they would be 3/3s.
Right.
Okay,
that is a base level of what you get from that interaction, right? So, like, little things like that.
Yeah.
Dude, I am lived with Lua long enough where I can start to hear the Jersey accent in my in my words nowadays, and it's I don't know how I feel about it.
Listen, man, just gotta own it. Gotta own it.
Look at
what
me.
You gotta do is every time you feel yourself drifting into Jersey, you need to just hard correct back towards Boston.
Back to Boston. Yeah. I gotta go hard back to my roots. Beantown.
Forgive me, Lord Ben.
Fenway Park, the Green Monster. Stunks.
I'm sorry, Batman. I didn't mean to talk this way. I hate the Yankees. Hate the Mets. Go Sox.
Did you say I'm sorry, Batman?
Yeah.
But Batman's from Jersey. We talked about this.
Yeah, but the guy who plays him isn't.
Oh, okay. Ben Affleck. I understand now. I
couldn't remember Ben Affleck's last name. And so I was just like, okay, who does this guy play? Who does he play? He's Batman. Sorry, Batman. Ian will get it.
Oh, my God. The funny part is like Batman's been played by so many people. There's no way. There's no way. I was like, what? Christian Bale? What?
The fact that we were talking about Boston and I went, sorry, Batman, and your brain did go, oh, he's talking about fucking Affleck.
No, because my brain went, wait, but Batman's from Jersey.
Yeah, I'm aware. I was also here for that.
To be clear, for anyone wondering why I keep saying Batman's from Jersey, people have done the math of like where Gotham is technically located, and
it's not
like
the math. It is canonically located in Jersey.
Is it really?
It is canonically in Jersey.
Okay. So Batman is without a doubt a Jersey boy.
Yeah. No, and that's like I've seen people talking about this. This is just like why in the new Batman movies, if they ever have Harvey Dent show up, that he needs to have the thickest Jersey accent because Harvey Dent is like a downtown, grew up in the streets of Gotham type guy.
Yeah.
And so it would be weird if he didn't have a super thick accent.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about Batman lore.
This is very indicative of our podcast. I'm really proud of this.
It really is. Listen, we talked about this last night some too, where it's just like outside of our set reviews and outside of our power rankings, the podcast is jazz, baby. Like we're out here, we're just, skibbity bap bap boop, seeing what works. And
Wait, Horn of Valhalla might be strictly better than Idolized. Not strictly, but like close.
Horn of Valhalla. Nope, not Cavalier Thorns. Why is this only showing me an online only card?
It's from Commander Baldur's Gate.
Oh, okay. It is there is a normal printing of it though. Okay. A equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control, and then you can create. Yeah. And here's the thing. Mm-hmm. I love a good aura. I love a good boggle. But
equipment are strictly better. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just they hang out. They're not here for a good time, they're here for a long time.
I also got to know, Cal, because I got a lot of questions about this. Mm-hmm. Are we finally at the deck that's a Sunforger deck? This one kind of feels close.
Here's the thing. I have done so much research. People have asked me this. They've asked me about Arden Crom. They've asked me about it on Ardenn's file. I got to be honest with you. I've done the research. What the fuck are you tutoring with it, baby? Like, what are you tutoring with it? And
in this deck specifically, I think you have a lot of answers. Is the crazy thing, right? Like, okay, so let's propose a scenario, right? Okay, you're just blank board state. You have Sunforger mana. That's it. You have Arden equipped with Sunforger, right? End step, unequip Eladamri's Call. Go get your creature you want, right?
No, it has to be a red or a white instant.
Eladamri's Call is a white instant.
Fuck you. Anyway,
your opponent puts a Thassa's Oracle on the stack. Unequip, go get Angel's Grace. Your opponent puts a Breach on the stack. Unequip, go get Silence. Your opponent has resolved an Underworld Breach. Unequip, go get Lost. Your opponent is passing on the craziest turn you've ever seen. There's no way you get past the person who has 15 cards and a Rhystic Study. Unequip, go get Chance for Glory, right? Like I'm not kidding when I say, like, I think of any Arden deck I've looked at, this is the closest one to make me go, like, I don't know. Like, feels pretty good. We have 2 split-second spells too, right? So, being able to be like, okay, let me activate this ability and then put this split-second spell on the stack.
That re-equips it. That also re-equips it.
I know, but I'm talking about, like, with the Godo turns, with like the thing we were talking about earlier with, like, Conqueror's Flail or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's like it's a. I know it, like, kind of seems asinine, but, like, I think this might be the one, right? Like, this might be the one to do it,
I'll try it.
Yeah, that's all we got there. I know I've made 600 people happy. There's so many people.
Yes. There's so many people who. It's 3 fucking mana?
Yeah.
So expensive.
Yeah, it's an expensive card, but it does a lot.
A lot of mana. That's a lot of mana.
I understand. I get it.
Worst case scenario, we have a card where we can yell ban with it. You throw the ban hammer down. This is the ban hammer image. Listen, more people are going to get this. And at least half of our audience got what I was talking about last week with MTGO. At least half.
Which I think I think me giving you shit about it and exactly half of our audience agreeing with me and half of our audience agreeing with you is, like, the perfect example of, like, it was a good debate. I think it was my favorite was the nose pusher who said, "Oh, classic Ian not knowing about real Magic formats," and I was like, "Wow, please go touch grass." Like,
usually people who say touch grass are the people who need to touch grass the most, but not in this case.
Yeah,
it's not this time. Yeah, that comment I saw and was just kind of like, don't think that's it, buddy. But all right. Thanks for the engagement.
My new favorite meme response is the one where it's like the people in the huddle, and then the one guy gives the big thumbs up, and then, like, goes back to talking in the huddle. Yeah, that very much felt like that energy.
I will stand by my favorite response to comments like that is, "Wow, sorry you feel that way. Thanks for the engagement, though." Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're at 96 cards. What other cards do we need to make sure are in this? Like,
I don't know. I'm kind of like liking how this looks. Like, I genuinely do. This is pretty sick.
I think we should, at minimum, try a Kiri. I feel like it feels like a thing that should be good here.
I am down for that. Is Toski not just better though?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Well, okay. I do think the activated ability of like a Kiri isn't bad. I think it's like fine. But I think you're probably right. A Kiri's probably an Arden Crom card.
I went to refresh the page and Moxfield has crashed again. I don't know why it's doing
it. Would never do that.
Oh, yours is working. What the hell?
Yeah, only one of us can work at the same time, apparently. Okay, so did we decide if we want to play Horn of Valhalla, or are we like,
I think it's worth considering. I don't think it needs to be an auto-include. That feels like a test over some of the more gimmicky other stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think we need Mind Sensor in there.
Yeah. Oh, we need Hammer of Nizan in this.
Sell me on that, please.
So the reason you need Hammer of Nizan is specifically because of how it layers with the with the blink lines with the deck.
Yeah. So to blink to go to auto equip the hammer.
Yeah.
And then go to get helm.
Well, you get your first one. You get hammer.
First
you blink
you get hammer.
You get helm.
Yeah.
And so that's.
But then hammer is unequipped, right? So does that still work?
Yeah. It's the way Hammer of Nizan or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control. You may attach that equipment to target creature you control. It doesn't matter if it's equipped or not.
Hammer's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So hammer goes in. I do think loyal retainers goes in.
Yeah. As I said, Mind Sensor needs to.
Holy fuck. What is happening, Moxfield?
Yeah. Oh, no, mine's working.
Okay. Well, you take over then, I guess. So we're adding in Hammer of Nizan, loyal retainers, and Mind Sensor. I don't hate playing Even Interrupter, but god damn it, I refreshed. Why? Why did I do this?
Yeah,
enjoy the black screen, fellas.
Yeah, I think mine's cooked too. Unfortunately, I think Moxfield's going through some sort of something.
It's having a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we will do then is we'll kind of wrap up like our thoughts.
Yeah. And we can talk about like the mana base. Let's talk about, is there anything in particular? I mean, obviously we have Cradle. We talked about the high value Forbidden Orchard. I don't think there's too many like super crazy ones. Like this isn't an Emergence Zone deck. No. You could play like the shitty go to combat, get trample or double strike lands, I guess. But like I think that's probably a bit of a reach.
I think that's too cute.
I think so as well. I don't think any of the channel lands really stick out to me in these colors. Like you probably play Aganjo.
You play Beseju and you play Aganjo.
Yeah, but obviously Beseju. And then I don't think we have the FCs either, right? Like maybe Shatter Skull because it's kind of like a free removal spell, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But like even then, kind of middling.
Yeah.
There's also a world where I think you. Like, I still think we maybe need a little more acceleration for the deck, right? Like, I could see maybe a Sticker Goblin or, something of that type of thing. Do we have Jessica's Well in there? I don't think we do.
No, we hadn't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, so that's like little inclusions potentially.
Yeah. I think what will end up happening, though, is we're going to continue working on this as, mine is now reloaded, but I'm not super convinced it's going to keep working.
Yeah.
But
if you noticed, like, I think, by the way, we've been talking lately is, for those who've been astute listeners to the podcast, Callahan and I are definitely brewing a lot more together, which has been really nice, and Phoenix as well in that sort of circle, which has been nice. It's just been like a really fun exercise in like experimenting with more quirky decks. And even if it's like a deck I like basically make an entire 100 of, I'll walk into the chat and be like, all right, throw your ideas at this pile. And then we all kind of work together, which has been really good.
You sent us a deck list the other day where I looked at it and I was just like, how much cocaine did you snort before you made this?
I do want to sleeve that up pretty soon. That
I saw that list and I was like, Ian's on one. I don't know if it's a bad one, but it's something.
Yeah, that one we'll keep a little close to the chest because
that one's some sauce. That's some ComedIan MTG content right there. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's
that one's definitely
fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so overall, kind of the ideas on this is we're kind of trying to answer some of the questions that like Ian or some of the issues Ian had with the deck with Arden Vile, and moving over to a place that you were kind of more interested in it to begin with anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is something you'll probably see at least one of us play here in the near future.
Yeah.
And so I think that, again, we've talked about this a lot before in the last few weeks, is that Arden is extraordinarily underexplored in the format. And it's extraordinarily powerful. And like I've made the comparison a lot, but it is very much a Malcolm-esque card. And I think that it deserves more people's time.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. So with that being said, Ian, if somebody is out there wanting to play Arden and Tana and they want somebody to help them take down a tournament with this deck, how could they do that? What would be a good way for them to do that other than watching our content?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I'm a full-time CEDH coach. I just came off one of the best weekends of my career, getting a win and a top 4 in the same weekend. So feeling pretty good about pushing my services here on this one. But I mean, it's been a really good month as far as like myself, my own performances, and then also like clients doing pretty well at some of these events and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that stuff, Cal is lovely and puts all that info in the descriptions of these videos. But comedianmtg@gmail.com, at comedianmtg on Twitter, and comedian_mtg over on Discord. Any of those lovely places, find me. And I mean, I cover
his
stuff
cell phone number is area code
redacted. No, but genuinely, I have people who are just starting the format, trying to get into it, all that kind of stuff, and then I have people who are prepping for their first big event, or they're preparing for some of their 100th event, and they just can't beat that plateau. All of the experience levels, all of the stuff. I'm open to working with anybody. Let me know.
Even LeBron James needs a coach. Even Michael Jordan needed a coach, sometimes you could be the best player in basketball. Tom Brady needed Bill Belichick, right? Like the best players still need a good coach and still need coaching. So go check out Ian. Is a great coach, great stuff. While you're at it, if you want to support this endeavor as well, you can go to patreon.com/the Mind Sculptors. And we will be glad to have your support. We're also actively working on business stuff now, which is a new thing for us, where we've actually talked about business stuff, I think, for the first time in the past 6 months, like in a real way in the past week. So we've had a lot of stuff to catch up on. It's been some crazy couple of weeks between events after events, and then there was one week where I was home for a day. We had a lot to catch up on, but luckily progress is being made. So we both love what we do for this channel, and we're open to feedback, all that stuff. Also, quick aside, everybody, respectfully, Cal puts their pronouns in the video, like very, very blatantly. If everyone could just like check those before making comments in the video, it would make, I think, everybody feel a little bit more comfortable. That's my little soapbox for the episode. I know that I look like Seth Rogen, but I definitely don't use Seth Rogen's pronouns. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for using the correct pronouns, and thank you for checking out this wild brew. We'll have the finished deck list in the description. And then I'll probably, I think I'll probably here in the next week or two put up a league or two of me playing this deck. That will obviously can't play the Fallout cards on MTGO, which sucks, but Potentially, we could get Ian and I to sit down and play through a league together. So we'll see how that works. So
and maybe we'll do it for the patrons because they've earned it.
But yeah, with all that being said, we'll see you next week.
Bye.